These things, credit cards. Everybody's got them, everybody knows about them, but nobody knows how to use them effectively. And in my experience, getting close to 20 cards in the last 6 years, they have actually made me wealthier, not richer, there is a difference, but wealthier in my entire life. Today, I want to share a real life story and exactly how I think credit card points and miles can really set you up for life from a really early age. And the inspiration for this video, oddly enough, is because I was looking at this Reddit thread by this guy right here on Reddit/entrepreneur. And this guy actually mentioned my startup is only profitable because of cashback. And you'll see how this relates in just a second. And he mentions that, oh, his startup is doing 100,000 revenue a month with $100,000 worth of expenses. So he's basically making zero, net zero at the end of every single month. But by him actually leveraging his great cashback credit cards, like this Mercury card that I've never heard of, the Amazon Amex, this Amex Gold card for paid ads, and now he's making $2,000 to $3,000 from that cashback in profit every single month. And I don't know if he's factoring in points and using that for travel, or if it's just straight cash back, getting 3% back on a 100K spend. But it feels weird to him because it's like he created this massive operation of, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions a year through his credit cards that lets him just get effectively a lot of cash back or some points. And oddly enough, this guy's story actually made me reflect on my own life and how I was able to leverage my credit cards to make myself more profitable as a person, use all of my points and miles with my credit cards as my travel fund. Because, growing up, everybody says, like, oh, put some money towards your travel fund, use that for your vacations. Well, I've always just thought of it like between my wife and I, as we're, accumulating a lot of different credit cards, now I have 15 to 20 different cards. Use all of those points and miles as your travel fund, and then take all of the extra disposable income, everything that you're earning in a given month that you're not putting towards bills, mortgages, etc. Put that all towards investments, and this way you can grow your wealth for the future. And in hindsight, that's exactly what I did over the past 6 years of accumulating like 15 to 20 different credit cards. At 21 years old, I actually went to go buy my first house. Unfortunately, that fell through. I didn't actually go through with it. So I ended up having some money, and somebody who was, watching a lot of YouTube videos on investing, I ended up doing the maybe not so smart thing, maybe smart thing, who really knows, but putting basically my life savings at that time into the stock market. And what happens when you put basically your life savings into the stock market? Well, one of two things happen. Well, that money either grows or it shrinks or everything in between. But what also happens is now you don't have any money on the sidelines. That's right. Money that you would have in like a checking account, what have you, that would be used towards those vacations and whatnot. Essentially, since all that money was put into the market, and once it's in the market and if it grows, you don't want to pay taxes on it. So you end up just leaving it in there for the long haul. You end up only having to live off of your income, which was at that time like $1,500 to $2,000 net to me every single month when I was, 21 years old. That's where the credit card points and miles came in because, well, in the last 6 years, me and her have been able to travel to like 15 different states, and we vacationed in almost all of them. All of that money that I spent via points and miles, just stuff that I got back on all of my, credit cards that I mentioned, all of that was spent in points, and none of it had to be spent in cash. And no way in heck would we be able to, between me and her and our incomes and just how we were at that time, able to vacation as much as we did, have as many experiences and life-changing experiences at that as we did if we didn't have points and miles. And while most people in that situation would have not vacationed, they would have just went years and years without going anywhere, or if they did, they wouldn't have been able to get maybe the nicest of places, but we were able to get some of the nice places and travel very, very frequently, all because we had this travel fund built up upon all of these credit card points and miles from what I consider an early age of 21 years old. And even more perfect if you're 18 years old watching this, getting your first credit cards, because, well, that's going to be your travel fund for the future. And maybe it's just solo trips that you do. We've talked to a lot of people on the channel who've done solo trips, or just people who are, finding their life partner very, very soon and using those points and miles as your travel fund. I mean, hell, we even used travel points to get to Las Vegas, which is where we ended up getting married. So, like, I mean, heck, we were even able to leverage doing a Hilton Grand Vacations timeshare because, well, it was like 60% discounted from the original price, and I was able to get Hilton Honors points. And we quite literally did the timeshare vacation like 1 hour before our wedding. So there's a lot of different ways to take all of your points and miles or to leverage everything in this game to pay for all of your travels. So this way, all of your money can stay in an account like a stock market account. And then I kind of think to myself, like, well, how much money did I really save over these past 6 years of vacationing. And as near as I can really tell, just being very conservative, I would say probably about $10,000 worth. I wouldn't be surprised if over those 6 years and I knew nothing about the points and miles game, I would have footed the bill of about $10,000. And that's including, flights, hotels, probably Airbnbs at that time. Excursions and activities when we get there, rental cars, etc. Probably around $10,000 over the past 6 years, which I've paid a fraction of that via just paying annual fees on credit cards. And honestly, I do see the counter argument of all the annual fees you had to pay and that eating into the total value you've gotten over the years. And then that also combined with when you actually do go on vacation, the food, the activities that you do, the car rental stuff, a lot of the stuff can't necessarily be supplemented by points and miles other than just cashing out like I do a lot of the time. I understand in our hobby, just by doing all these things and going on these travels, that also adds in a lot of costs that we wouldn't be spending anyway if we weren't using our points to go away somewhere. So I definitely understand that as well. I just still think that the value back from the experiences and going out outweighs all of the miscellaneous spend on the annual fees and or just the costs when you're away. And still, anybody want this free TV? And also, before I forget, anybody want a lamp? And when I look at it like that, I'm like, that's $10,000 that I was able to either keep into a stock market account where that can grow and compound over time, where, the old adage of if you keep that in the S&P 500, 7 or 8% return every single year, every 7 years, that's essentially doubling. So over that 6 year span, maybe we're getting an extra $10,000 on our investments to be used towards building our wealth for the future. Of course, during these times, who really knows how much the stock market's going to go up with inflation and all these different issues that are going on. But nonetheless, it was an opportunity for money to grow while I was able to vacation essentially for, 90% off. And not even to mention like $10,000 saved over 6 years. I mean, that quite literally could be your 3%, 3.5% down payment on a $300,000 house. I mean, that's actually not bad whatsoever when you think about it. And in some cases, just building up $10,000 for a down payment on a house is like in the minority. There's so many people who are not able to come up with a down payment for a house. I know firsthand, just being a realtor out here, is a lot of people, that's the biggest struggle. Can you come up with a down payment? And if you're somebody who can come up with a 3.5% down payment on like an FHA loan for a 300K house, I mean, that could kind of technically set you up for life, just being able to get into the door into owning real estate. I mean, that's pretty powerful. So I'm never going to sit here and discount credit cards and their power, because indirectly, and what a lot of people don't mention is like all of that money that you are saving and where you can allocate that for the best leverage. So this way you can build your wealth for the future, right? I just think it's so fascinating. So a lot of people like to downplay credit cards. I usually like to upplay them because I just think they're the most powerful tools in the world. But not only, and going back to the title and how it's made me wealthier, of course, it makes you a little bit of money, $10,000, say, double that every 7 years or throw it into a house. Okay, cool. But it's also making you wealthier, which I believe is a combination of raising a little bit of your money, your stacks, but then also your wealth of experiences and being able to travel to all of these different states that like literally my parents, who are 3 times my age, have not even been able to vacation in. And we've done it at a fraction of their age just because of points and miles. And again, I'm not doing anything crazy like going abroad or anything yet, but at least we have that opportunity and we have that ability to if we wanted to. And of course, it depends on you. And maybe you're somebody who's just not going to vacation in 6 years. But in my experience, everybody kind of does. Once a year, there's always something that happens, whether it's like a $500 motel or a $2,500 excursion. And it actually kind of reminds me of a time when I was 21 years old with my now wife, and we actually did one of our, or if not, our first real big vacation. We flew out to Florida, via JetBlue, and we actually rented out an Airbnb. I rented out a Tesla because I was excited about the car at the time. And that entire trip, because it was before points and miles, ended up being like $2,000 to $2,500 out of pocket cash. And I was very, very frugal, but we're also trying to impress, some ladies and stuff. So at that time, who's to say I wouldn't just keep doing a trip like that? $2,500, $2,000 every single year. That's some good savings because since then I have not had to pay that kind of cash whatsoever for vacation every single year. And then, the entire 6 year span, I haven't had to foot the bill of anything that large since then. And so all those savings are powerful. And actually, this is reminding me because me being a realtor out here, I get to speak to a lot of different families. And I remember a particular time, maybe last year, I was speaking to this family who were with their two kids and everything, and they were going to buy this house, which was fairly expensive. And they were like, well, all right, kids, listen, we can afford this house, but we're probably not going to be able to vacation for the next couple of years. And I just heard that and I was like, oh my God. I was like, if only you knew, if only you knew. And I tried to tell them, I tried to say, like, you can get these cards and you can get the welcome offers and you use that for travel. And usually when someone in a cowboy hat approaches you and tells you about credit cards, usually you run. But at that time, most people aren't really listening to you. Yeah, but the idea is it's there, like it's possible, and so many people still don't know about the power of credit cards and how they can leverage that for all of their vacations. I mean, I even asked them, "How much are you spending every single month on just groceries?" It ended up being like $1,000 a month. I'm like, "Do you know?" In my head, the amount of welcome offers you can hit so this way you can vacation for free with $1,000, just $1,000 a month. Insanity, insanity, but only if they knew the game. So if it's one thing I stress for anybody watching, if you have a friend, if you have a sibling, if you have a parent who is unaware about the game and they're not going to go into debt or anything like that, educate them about the game. Let them know Anthony Venture sent you, or send some of my videos out there. Whatever it can do to help them out to learn about the game, so this way they don't have to tell their kids, we're not going to vacation for the next couple of years. Like, no, that should never happen in this game. There's too many points. There's too many ecosystems going around right now. There's too many people in it. They all should be vacationing as well. So I just freaking love this game so much. So that's why I think this is one of the most important things to ever do in your life, literally, is get into the credit card game. And it's just fun. It's just fun at the end of the day. I mean, where else is a guy in a cowboy hat telling you about free vacations? I mean, it just doesn't happen. So just like that Reddit thread of that guy making his business profitable, start making yourself profitable, use those points and miles for your vacations, save that money that you would be spending on vacations otherwise, and invest it for the future. Put it into real estate. Even heck, make it your 6 to 9 month to 12-month emergency fund. Do what you got to do. Save that money. Set yourself up for success for the future. And in the meantime, if you want to see one of my favorite trips I've ever done with credit card points and miles, take a look at the top right hand corner of your screen. I think you're going to enjoy it. So can't wait to see you there. And as always, thank you guys for being here so much. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much.